Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward, the podcast that reveals how to plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey of creating epic results in your life, business, health, and relationships. Here's your host, best-selling author and motivational speaker, Xander Sprague.
Welcome, everyone, to Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Xander Sprague, and today I am honored to have Dan MacQueen join me. Dan, take a moment and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Xander. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Dan MacQueen. I'm from Vancouver, Canada today. My story took place in London, England. I'm a traumatic brain injury survivor, and I can dive into that story if you'd like, Xander.
Yeah, please.
So this story took back once upon a time. Well, actually took back in 2014. I was having these headaches, and when I say headaches, I mean like migraines the size of, they were crazy. They were massive. I couldn't see straight. I was on the tube one day, the tube that I get around London, and my vision started to flicker. It started to go a little bit. I'm lumbering towards Nine Hill Gate Station, tube station, and the vision starts to go from the sides. I arrive at the platform, my station, Nine Hill Gate Station, and I step onto the platform, and the curtain falls. I can't see. Now, Xander, just think for a minute, just think for a second. Able-sighted person your whole life, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you can't see.
That's terrible.
You're in a foreign country. You're standing on the platform. I mean, what goes through you? Like, I didn't know what to do.
Absolutely.
So I stood there. I wish I said I had some great plan to come out of this pickle, but I did not. I just sat there and I stood there and I waited. Luckily enough, the vision came back after about 3 minutes, and I carried on with my day. But the next day, I found myself back in A&E. I decided I'm going to go get to the bottom of this. Let's figure out what's going on here. Again, they thought it was vertigo. They sent me home. But they told me on the way out I could always get my eyes checked in an optometrist. An optometrist, you say, yeah? The eyes are an extension of the brain. Okay, that makes sense. The following day, the headaches were back with a vengeance. I found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was midway through a routine exam when he stops the exam. Excuses himself from the room, and he comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope, which he hands to me. Xander, he tells me to go directly to Moorfields Hospital, which I did. Well, Xander, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, a phone charger and a bite to eat, and a few essentials, and I made my way back to Moorfields Hospital. I handed them the sealed envelope. They ran the same test there that escalated to Charing Cross Hospital. We're getting somewhere, I'm thinking. This is good. Turns out, I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous cyst in my head.
Oh.
Turns out I required emergency brain surgery. Well, it turns out my world would change altogether. After a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mom receives reads, "I'll see you soon, Mom. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dan." Mom's in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong, and I have a massive bleed in the brain, a brain hemorrhage.
Ooh.
This cyst burst when they operated. My mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks. Was in and out of consciousness for months after this. Things were dicey, touch and go. When all was said and done, Xander, I was learning how to walk, talk, and smile again. And that's kind of where my story kicks off, Xander.
Wow, that is quite the epic story, and clearly you've been on an epic journey since then. What has in the last 10 years, what has your life been like? What's different?
Well, I mean, this, as you can imagine, is quite an abrasive shock to wake up in the hospital bed. You know, I can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, dad, and brother are on the bed, and I'm trying to talk to them, but I can't. And they go, "Well, give me a pen and paper." And I point at my brother and I go, "You." And I write in the pen and paper, I go, "Get me out of here." And I point to him and I go, "You, make this happen." Because I had a tracheotomy removed and I could get my voice box back for a little while. Luckily, he did not take me on my request. More of a demand, really. But I think they were quite happy to know that I was, able to think and process and write and communicate. Because with the brain injury, you're not sure what the prognosis is going to be, right? Like, how is it going to be after the injury?
Sure.
The way the nurse got me talking again was she took me down to the park. Some kids playing football or soccer across the park, and she goes, "Dan, those kids across the park, They don't think you're good enough to talk, Dan. They don't think you're good enough to talk. I found out pretty quickly that's a good motivator for me. I love being told I can't do something, and I will bend the world to prove you wrong. And I yelled some profanities across the park. I'll spare you and your listeners, but needless to say, I kind of put that in my backpack and understood that motivates me. That being told I can't do something is a really good motivator for me.
Sure.
Now, this was, I was flattened by this, right? I was in a wheelchair, right? The leg had atrophied in a coma, so I couldn't use my left leg. I had to wear a splint over my left leg. Now, a splint's like a cast over your leg muscle. They're supposed to like gently tease out the leg muscle, right? Gently was the operative word they told me. That's bollocks. The first night, though, I wore the splint through the night. No issue, no stress. This will be easy. I thought this will be easy. The second night, after 20 minutes, it was painful. After 30 minutes, it was dreadful. After 40 minutes, it was unbearable. Buzz and nurse take the splint off my leg. But I tell them tomorrow, we're doing this for an hour. I'm a walker. I can handle the pain. So I thought. So the third night, they wrap up my leg. They tie it off. They give me the clicker, the nurse call button. They go patrol the Wilson ward. Now, the Wilson ward was an L shape, right? So short on this side, long on this side, okay? Short on this side, long on this side. And they leave me in a hospital room that smells like only a hospital room can smell. Sanitized, sterilized. It's clean, but you're wondering what sort of atrocities have been committed on the guys in the scent. After 10 minutes, the leg's painful. After 20 minutes, the leg's dreadful. After 30 minutes, the leg's unbearable. I start passing computer back and forth, trying to distract myself from the pain. Now, Xander, I'm wearing an eye patch today to counteract that double vision that I've got from the brain injury. I didn't have this at the time I was passing the computer back and forth, so I can't see much of this, right? I'm feeling this out.
Yep.
As the pain ratchets up, my throws are getting more enthusiastic. Until eventually, inevitably, I drop the clicker and it lands on the floor. 3.5 feet down on the ground. Sugar, I say. I look over the edge of the bed, I see the clicker land on the floor. If I can only get to that clicker, I can stop this pain. I can stop this monstrosity on my leg. This thing is expanding exponentially by the minute. It's so painful, I can't even tell you. Only problem was if I fall from that height, it might break my arm, I thought. In fact, I figured about a 50-50 chance of breaking my arm. A coin flip, not the best odds. I changed the tack. I'm trying to undo this flip at the center of the ankle, not the hip. I'm not that flexible. I can't reach that far down. Help. Help, I yell. The word of the Wilson was an L shape, right? Short on this side, long on this side. Short on this side, long on this side. They're down the far end of the ward. They can't hear me out for help. I decided to flip the coin, drop down, and grab the clicker. Even if I break my arm, at least I get the splint off my leg. That's the most important thing in my world. I'm sure my priorities will change once the arm breaks.
Right.
But let's see what happens. I lower myself off the edge of the bed. I crash down a heap. It's a yard sale. Blankets, wires, cables, all go. The arm holds. And I hammer the clicker, expecting the nurses to come bursting into his room to come to my rescue. They kind of stroll in 5 minutes later. What are you doing on the floor, love? I say, let's not worry about it. Let's splint off my leg, please, and I'll tell you all about this. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it matters, right? I learned 3 lessons from that experience. That's why I'm telling you this story now. The first and most obvious is let's not pass the clicker back and forth. That's pretty self-evident, but it took me to mess up to know this was the case. The second was let's do the splint up to the hip, not the ankle. That way, kind of do this. Should this happen going forwards? And the third and probably most profound was let's always be solutions-oriented from this moment forwards. Focus on how you can resolve your issue at the moment of contact. When things go wrong in life, which they will, how do you address the solution off the hop and fix that and only worry about that? That's a lesson that stuck with me after this issue here, Xander. It's a bit of a rant for you, bud, but needless to say, it was difficult, it was arduous, it was frustrating as all hell to do this stuff, to be honest, Xander.
Absolutely, Dan. And I mean, it's a fascinating story. Thank you so much for sharing. One of the things that I talk about in my book, which is for all about people, we have epic dreams. We have the things that we want to do. And sometimes we have, you fall into what I call the epic unexpected. Some epic journey that you're on that you obviously never planned on, but here you are and you don't have any choice but to go forward. And something that strikes me that I talk about all the time, and I'm probably will resonate with you, is not yet. Those 2 words are very important to me. And I think not yet I'm going to just guess in your journey, not yet is probably very important. Can I do this? Not yet. Doesn't mean you're not going to be able to achieve it. Just means today you can't.
Xander, I love that. That's very true. And I've used not yet many times.
That's great. Yeah, I can imagine. Whereas you're having to rehab and stuff. I know I did not go through anything nearly what you did, but I crashed on my mountain bike back in October of 2022 and shattered my shoulder. Had to have surgery twice on it, and the rehab on that was, am I better? Not yet. Can I do this? Not yet. But I really believe that I could. And I look at you today and say, there must be a whole lot of not yet. I love that you said, for you, very motivating if someone says, you can't do that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because like not yet is a huge part of my vibe for sure. And my motivation came a lot from that proving you wrong vibe. Like I can't do
Sure.
this. Watch me. Like that's where it came from initially. It's like this toxic sludge of hate and spite and venom, but it works, man.
Yeah.
But I've transitioned that now to service. Your success is my success. Because when I beat you, Xander, the motivation disappears like it was never there.
Yeah.
And it's an empty, hollow place that you're left with. Like, well, what happened? I was motivated this for so long, but it's just gone now. Because that venomous spite works. It works very well, but like it just burns you up, man. So if you transition that to service, your success is my success is your success. It doesn't evaporate when this conversation ends, Xander. I'll cheer on your podcast going forwards.
Right.
I'm not trying to beat you. It's not like a me versus you. It's us versus them.
Absolutely.
And that is how you motivate and sustain for the long term.
Definitely. And I also think that when we're on these epic journeys, we have an idea, a goal of where we want to get to. But when you get there, although it's very satisfying, it's not like the journey ends. In the past, I've run marathons, and I remember the first time I completed a marathon, and I was so excited when I crossed the finish line. But I did sort of have well, now what, right? This thing that I had spent so many months training for, and I achieved it, and it was great. I don't want to discount it. But I can imagine for you, there's goals that you say, I want to be able to, do this. And when you get there, but it's like, okay, well, now what? It's not like it just ends and you're like, all right, I'm done. I mean, and I think in business, we have goals of what we want to achieve. But when you get there, it's not like you're complete. You're complete for that task, but there's more that you now see that you could do, or you think, well, what's next?
Goal creep. Well, goals for me started off in the wheelchair, like in the hospital early days. Like, let's get in the wheelchair in 45 minutes, not 40, or 45, not 50, then 40, not 45, then 35, not 40. Like
Right.
I was constantly measuring myself against yesterday. Better than yesterday is how I approach life.
Sure.
I'm trying to incrementally improve my vibe day in, day out. And eventually ratchet that up to, got in the wheelchair in 10 minutes, and then 7 minutes, then 8 minutes, and then 6 minutes, and 5 minutes. But it started at 50, it started at 45. It was so difficult to get in that bloody wheelchair.
Yeah.
And it transitioned from like, in the shower, like transition from the wheelchair to the bed and, walking and tuning Broadway. So I'm going to share the story about walking and tuning Broadway. Xander, have you been to London, England?
Yes, I have.
Have you been to Tuning Broadway?
I honestly can't remember if I have or I haven't, but
Well, let me set the scene for you and the
okay.
listeners. Tuning Broadway is an area in South London, okay? An area they call up and coming.
Mm-hmm.
Think loud sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty, it's hectic, and boys are busy. I'm walking with a cane, I'm walking with an eye patch, just like today. I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turn the corner to walk on the high street for the first time, immediately get slammed into by someone. I stagger back a few feet. Someone scurries past me on the right-hand side. Thought I was done with the rats. Someone had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking, this is a pretty wild place to learn to walk. After a few days of this, I was thinking, this is the worst place to learn to walk in the world.
Yeah.
Can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Can't they see I'm trying here? And then one day my perspective shifted. maybe this is the worst place to learn to walk in the world. Maybe it's the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere.
Sure.
And Tune Broadway didn't change, right, Xander?
Yeah.
It went from the worst to the best in my mind, and my mood reflected that. What are you looking at in your life you're convinced is the worst? Convinced the absolute worst. Hey, maybe it is. Maybe you can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit, shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
Now, your
Yes.
punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? Facts.
Yeah.
But it will be a job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis for you, a loved one. You'll take that punch in the mouth. How you respond? I'm
Right.
offering a compass, not a map, but a compass. It always points towards true north. Well, things like mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks that will allow you and your team better than yesterday and tomorrow. My name's Dan MacQueen, and the reason why I told you the story about learning to walk and tune Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world will get changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that. Now, that's a
Absolutely.
whimsical lesson that I've got after the injury. Like, let me be very clear with your listeners here, Xander. You don't come with these whimsical learnings at the moment of contact, right? That's a solution-based thing. The moment of contact, you're looking to survive. Looking back after the fact, I'm connecting the dots to understand that this is what I was thinking, my thought process. But don't think about these like cute little stories when you're going through the deep stuff. Think about them afterwards. But like that story about the worst and the best, like that's a real thing, right? Like that transformed my experience walking into Broadway. This is the worst, no, this is the best. And that feeling of just like I look forward to the contact, the strife, the struggle. Like you're making me better with this. Like I love that.
Right. Yeah. And that reminds me, Dan, of I was many years ago reading a book called The Diamond Cutter, and it's sort of talking about this Buddhist monk who goes to work in the diamond cutting district in New York. And not to get too much into it, but there was this concept that I really liked, which they said in Buddhism, there's this belief that nothing is inherently good or bad, it's how you see it. And I really like that. That resonates with me, has resonated for many years. And I look at, for example, the sun is out today here in California. So I go, oh, that's great. The sun is out. But let's say we are in a drought and I'm a farmer. Perhaps I see the sun being out not to be as good a thing because it's killing my crops. So it's killing my livelihood. And the sun being out in and of itself isn't good or bad. There's no value. It's how we interpret what that situation, and just like you said, if I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. When you were learning to drive and stuff, if there was lots and lots of traffic, it was really hard. But if you knew how to do that, then the rest, whatever driving you may encounter, if there's less traffic, it's not as hard. So I can totally relate to your perspective of your situation. Makes a huge difference in how what the outcome is. If you believe that you will be able to achieve something, you are a lot more likely to do it. There is
And
failure along the way. It is
I
part of
call
the
that
journey.
reframing. So it's just like you're not changing anything. You're just changing how you look at something, right? Like it's just like Tune Broadway's still up and coming today, but it's like it went from the worst place to never walk in the world to the absolute best.
Definitely.
I mean, no mistakes here. Like Tune Broadway's not the hardest place to learn how to walk in the world, no doubt, but it's not easy. From the nerfed up worlds of the hospital to going to Tune Broadway was a bloody gong show. I was so frustrated by this and so dejected, but like, can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Like, I'm wearing an eye patch, I'm wearing a cane, like I'm walking with a cane, I'm stumbling around, I'm staggering, people are bumping into me. I'm like, this is the worst, man. Can't you see I'm walking here? When that mindset shift happened, like, is this the worst or is it the best? Like, I began to look forward to that contact, that strife, that struggle. Like, good, bring it on. You're making me better with this. And like, I resonate with contact and competition. So that worked for me. It may not work for you, but if you can change how you look at that, like your world changes. And it's not like me paying lip service to like perspective, but it's like just how you look at stuff. Like it's the worst or the best. Because you can
Absolutely.
choose how you look at it.
Absolutely. And like any big challenge in our life, there's two ways. You either define your challenge or your challenge defines you.
I like that.
And I prefer to say I will define my challenge, because then I'm employing the choice that I have. I am not helpless. Now, I will grant you there are times in life where our choices are crap and crappier.
Yeah.
But even in that, you have a choice. And when you have choice, you actually empower yourself and say, I wish I had a third choice. I don't. So here's what I'm going to choose. And there is some power there. There's some personal, like I can do this. So,
Yeah, dude, I
and
love that. I love that. And I want to share one more story about a goal setting if I can. Xander, is that
sure,
okay?
absolutely.
So I was a big skier growing up, right? I
Hmm.
skied a lot, 3 days a week on the hill. I was a ski racer. I was working on the even bars with my rehab team after the brain injury. Early days, Charing Cross, which is the hospital I had the brain surgery in. And the rehab team asked me what I was looking forward to get back to doing, right?
Hmm.
And I'm in a wheelchair at this stage, I can't walk. And I think about this, like, what's a big sport that I want to get back to doing? Like, what sport that if I can do, it signifies a big recovery on my side.
Sure.
And I thought about this for a minute, like, what sport would I want to do? And I thought about all the sports I used to play, about everything, like soccer, hockey, volleyball, softball, skiing. And I landed on skiing because that's the most difficult sport to get back to doing. Like balance, core strength, depth perception, double vision would make things interesting, gauge and obstacle speed. If I could ski in, I'd have to be in a pretty good way physically at that. So I told them I want to ski again. And they paused. They nodded agreement and they said, okay, sure. I'm sure that was a simple exercise designed to get me think about future goals. Has been burned in the back of my mind as something I got it for. So they asked me when I wanted to go skiing again. I said 2022, 10 years from my last ski trip on the Morrissey Mountain. And we're into March. So I brought the skis in the shop. They get waxed. They get sharpened. They couldn't adjust my bindings. Those are too old to be worked on, they told me. For liability reasons, they couldn't touch them.
Sure.
That's a good sign, right? No big deal, no big deal, I thought. So we take a stab March 31st. We landed on sun, which is glorious because when you ski in the spring and it's rain on the base, you're rain on the slopes, which sucks. So we're at the base of the Grouse Mountain Super Ski Ride. Now, I remember an old hack as a ski racer at the bottom of the Grouse Mountain Super Ski Ride to be the last one on the gondola. That way, when you enter the gondola, you can rest your skis and your poles on the doors that close behind you. It's like an OG hack to know that you belong on the hill, right?
Sure.
Tell the boys, like, hey, we're going to be the last one on the gondola. Trust me on this. I got this. I've taken this gondola probably hundreds of times, right? Maybe thousands, maybe not thousands, maybe hundreds. We go up the gondola, get the spot, the whole shot, rest our skis and the poles on the door. We're on the gondola ride going up, right? Over the first tower, big forwards, big back. Now, if you close your eyes for a second, I'll take it to the last leg of the gondola, please. So feel a nip of cold on your cheeks, not enough to let you know you're at altitude. We're in a dock at the station above. Walk through the station with all gear, clomp, 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 into a wall of sunshine. Beautiful bluebird day. Big inhale. Smell the pines, the fresh air, the snow. Down the stairs, clang, 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 onto the snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Open your eyes, please. We got situated on the hill with the boys, Andrew and RJ. And then after 10 years off the slopes, Xander, I ripped it like I didn't know would be possible. I was skiing so well, like I never missed a day. My turns were tight. I was an instructor after university for a season, so I was quite comfortable on the slopes, but it looked like I didn't miss a day. I didn't think this was possible when I said this goal out loud. It was like a moonshot goal, something bold to aspire to, right? And there I am skiing. And I got to pose this question to your audience, You love goals you haven't think you're shooting for. What's holding you back? You're not able to walk? You're not able to talk? You're not able to smile? I'm going to share this quote from Confucius that helped me change my life in perspective a little bit here.
Uh-huh.
It goes, we all have two lives. And the second begins when we realize that we only have one. This moonshot goal was impossible. This was something that I couldn't even believe I was saying out loud, but I said it out loud to my rehab team, and they agreed with me. They smiled and said, yes, there's no way they thought I was skiing. There's no way they thought I was skiing. And there I am skiing. And dude, I'm not skiing, I'm ripping. I'm shredding. I'm like Warren Miller up there. It was wicked. It was amazing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Must have felt so empowering, Dan.
It's the fastest I've gone since brain injury. And I used to go fast all the time before the brain injury. Like I used to drive motorcycles, I used to ski race, I used to, drive cars. Not supposed to, but I was driving fast.
Yeah.
I love going fast. I love the speed. I love the high risk. I love the thrill of being on the edge. And I haven't been able to do that since the brain injury, except for the skiing. And mind you, I'm skiing like greens and blues, so like it's not that crazy, but your skis can run a bit, right?
Sure.
And throw some turns late, and I'm like, and I'm on the edge there for a minute. It's like I miss this feeling, and I loved it because it was just like this. It brought me back to like my youth of like, this is the drug that I want. Like this feeling of like, am I gonna hold on to this? I don't know, but I'm holding on.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it was phenomenal, and it was phenomenal because I said it out loud and I made it happen. But like, I didn't think this would be possible to do, and I did it.
Yeah.
I did these brain scans last year at this brain injury clinic in Vancouver, Xander, called Health Tech Connect.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brain injury clinic in Vancouver that does pro sportsmen, big brain injury studies. And my results came back as, put this cap on your head and they inject you with fluid and they tell you these questions like cucumber, sausage, and pickle. And they track the synapses that fire together when they say certain words to see how your brain responds, right? My results came back as average, right, Xander? Average, which is, after 2 brain surgeries is pretty damn good.
Sure, absolutely.
But I read this as shockingly average, Xander. I was so appalled that my results came back as average because I thought I should be superior in some space because I've done so well. But I thought more about this and I realized, that's actually a good thing because it means that I'm no smarter or better than anyone on this call, but I've just chosen to go forwards. I've just chosen to stand the toes over the nose of my board and ride this wave down.
Definitely.
That means that you can do this too. I'm no better or smarter than anyone on the call, but like I've just been driven to make this work. I'm not gifted, but I'm average. But I can make this happen. Like my medical stuff, I don't say it to say, woe's me, look at how good I am, Xander. I'll be honest, maybe a little bit of that is in there. But it's more so like, look what I've done. Look what you can do too.
Absolutely.
I'm not gifted or special, but like I look what I've done, man.
Absolutely, Dan. And you really are very inspirational because it is a testament to, if you set a big audacious goal, if you decide to go epic, you can. It does take a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of work, but it is possible. And I know from my own life, there's things not necessarily as big as yours, but I've achieved epic things. That's why I talk about epic, because I think we all do epic things, but we just don't give ourselves credit for how big that effort is. So,
well, you can do small, you can do big. So why not aim big? And you may just hit. Why not aim big and just see what happens? Like this is a moonshot goal, right? The scheme is a moonshot goal. I didn't think it'd be possible, and there I am skiing, man. Like I can't tell you how surreal that day was for me. Like I'm skiing. This is nuts. Because I said it out loud, because I tracked this down, because I thought in my bones every day for the past like 10 years, like, look, I'm gonna make this happen.
sure.
And like, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they said the odds of you being a human being, Xander, are 400 trillion to 1, right? 400 trillion to 1 means you're more likely to win the lottery like a million times than you have a life in the first place, right?
Right.
Let's, for the analogy, let's say we're playing around of cards, right? And these cards were given to me, and one of the cards was brain hemorrhage, right? Am I going to muck the land because of this? No, I'm not going to muck the land. I'm going to play the hand as best as I damn well can.
Absolutely. And
like,
that's all we can do, Dan, is
all you can do. And like don't whinge about the hand. You got a hand in the first place, brother.
exactly.
My hand only exists because of this card.
Absolutely.
If I didn't have this card, I wouldn't be existing now. So like, don't whinge about it. Wishing something didn't happen is not an adequate way to resolve it. Like acceptance is the key thing that I want to get across to your audience. Acceptance is the most important thing with this. Like accepting the brain injury, right? Like seems pretty, acceptance. Like, Dan, you know my story. It's like, yeah, I know your story, but like acceptance is the key. Because you can wait a month to accept it. You can wait 6 months to accept it. And then after that 6 months, you'll be at square one. If you can rectify this and take steps forward from day one, you're taking steps to improve your lot. Wishing something did not happen is an adequate way to resolve it. Acceptance is just saying these are the new terms of service. Accept that. It's not saying it's fair. It's not saying it's like it's equal or it's like okay that it happened, but it's saying that it did happen.
Yep.
And to deny that happened is not fair to you or anyone else in your life. So like acceptance is key.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, Dan, believe it or not, our time is up, but I just want to thank you so much. It has been it's absolutely fascinating. Your story is so interesting, and I am so excited for all that you are doing and achieving. Just quickly, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Yeah, the best way, Xander, is to reach me on my website, MacQueenDan.com. That's MacQueen Dan, MacQueen, Dan.com. You can see my demo reel there, as well as MacQueen Dan across the socials. So thank you, Xander.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much. I want to remind my audience that if you're ready to step into your epic, if you go to epicbegins.com and you put in the code epicbegins, all one word, you'll get a $50 discount on either of the courses that are up there right now. And I also want to remind my audience that epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.
Get your gift copy of the award-winning book Epic Begins with One Step Forward at epicbegins.com. That's a wrap on this episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward with your host, Xander Sprague, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed public speaker, and licensed professional clinical counselor. To make your next conference or event epic, send an email to Xander at zander@epicbegins.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Remember, epic choices, epic life.